Hey, this is Cameron. Welcome back to the Busy Gardener channel. Something I'm doing today is I'm going and pruning these rose bushes. I'm also going to be trying to figure out where to plant some additional ones, replace some of the ones we've got here. Let's get busy. Well, this is a great day. It's nice and cool out here. It's going to be a high in the mid 60s. You notice it's cloudy, overcast, but not frigid, not hot either. So I figured I'd come out here and do some work on these roses. I wanted to cut some beautiful blooms to take inside, bring some color inside the house, and also to clear up some of the stuff that needs cleaning up. So there are a few things, and I'm far less experienced in pruning roses than I am in doing fruit trees and things like that. And so but there are a few principles that are very, very similar, and so I want to talk through a few of those things. When you are pruning your roses, one thing is you want to, when you're pruning, any pruning you you make, you're going to want to have be at the first set of 5 leaves. These roses, you might notice here, you might notice that there are little bunches of 3 leaves, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So what you want to do is you want to go all the way down until you find the first set of 5 leaves, and that is where those are true leaves. And if you make a cut above those, then it's going to create another branch that ought to flower. And so you want to be looking for that. Make your cut above where there are 5 leaves, not 3 or 4 leaves. Another thing is when you're making those cuts, just like you do with a fruit tree, you want to make it about 1/4 of an inch above the bud. Now, we have a gardener who comes and does stuff in the front. Mainly want him to be cleaning up that olive tree, the base of it, and doing the lawn. But I think he came and did this with our roses. You see how long this pruning cut is? That's not the way to do a pruning cut. This thing he left maybe about a couple inches above here, a couple of inches above. And that's not where you want to cut it. You want to cut it, you want to encourage that. Well, one, you don't want to create any additional space for junk to come in. It's ugly to have that thing sticking out there. And so you want to be 1/4 of an inch above the bud. So it was me, and I was making this pruning cut. I'd be cutting right about here. Notice the difference? And so that way you don't have these unsightly things sticking out of your bush. All right, now, when it comes to the inside of your trees, similar trees, here I am talking about trees again. You're talking about the inside of your rose bush. You want to keep it open. You want a fairly open center. You don't want stuff crisscrossing. Good time to take out any dead canes, any kinds of things that are crisscrossing are going to cause potential problems for each other, just like a fruit tree. And when it comes to rose bushes, it's going to be kind of like any other fruit tree or something like that, is you're wanting to look for balance as well. So you notice on this one here, you've got this one long stem that's coming up. And so that's something that I'm gonna cut off as well. You want the tree to have, I keep saying tree, I'm so used to that. You want the bush to have an overall balance where there's, if there's something that's growing a little too vigorously, you're gonna wanna check it. So here I'm gonna look and say that a good cut with a true leaves, five leaves right here, make that cut right there. And that rose bush is a lot better balanced than it was. Fun fact, did you know that roses and blackberries are part of the same overall family of plants? Maybe that's why they've got the thorns on their canes. Ouch! After your rose has produced flower, if you don't end up cutting the flower off to take it inside like I'm doing with a lot of these today, you'll notice that the petals essentially fall off, and you notice that this is swelling here. And it's turning into a fruit, not something that you're gonna eat. What you wanna do is you wanna come out in deadhead, they call that. So when you've got a flower that is on its way out, you come in and you essentially make a pruning cut. And so the first one here, remember, we're not looking for 3 leaves like this one is right here. We're gonna go down until we find 5 leaves. And 5 leaves, there are 5 leaves, right? It's so hard when it's not on a tripod. 5 leaves right here. So essentially I'm gonna come and make this pruning cut right here, right above that bud. And so we should expect to see something else flower as a result. Hey, if you come out and you notice a bunch of aphids on your tree, kind of like we've got going on this one, can you see all those crazy aphids on there? Those aphids are just going nuts, totally latched onto the end of that thing. something that I'd recommend you do before you come and spray them with any kind of chemical, even if it's organic, is just to come up with some high pressure water and just blow the aphids off. That's a really effective way to get them off of there, and is something that can work really well before you have to have some sort of other spraying chemicals or other things on there as an intervention. So what I do is I come out with a bucket. I really ought to have 2 buckets, one for the flowers that I want to keep, and the other bucket I use to just throw all the trimmings in. I also have gloves on. Using goatskin gloves is really good. Those are a lot more puncture resistant than regular cowhide, and so cow leather. So yeah, you want to use gloves so that way you don't get poked by these things. Throw all that stuff in there, throw it in your mulch pile. I throw it in my green waste. And so I'm going to set this up on a tripod. You'll see some of the pruning cuts that I make as I move it around. I also am wondering about you helping me figure out what to do with this area. We'd like to get rid of a few of these rose bushes that really have never done well. Those 3, all of these were here before we moved in about 9 years ago. And over there, those 3 really have not produced. When they have, it's been really lackluster. And I think there might be some other types of roses that would do really well here. I also am wanting to get rid of this one here. It's been, almost like a vining one. It looks really beautiful this year. We have had a lot of rain, which has created just a boom of flowers for us. I don't even know if we fertilized this year yet, so I probably need to do that. But I'd like to get rid of this one because it has these trailing vines, which I don't really want. And so what I'm thinking is, in this space over here, I'd like to get rid of that and then put some other rose bushes in this area here. Are there any that you think would go well with this kind of gray and blue? I like the color. I like kind of the pop of the reddish or the pink. It seemed to look really nice against these colors. So maybe you've got some suggestions on which kind. We were looking at putting in some of those, I don't know if they're called iceberg roses or what they're called exactly, and they have tons of flowers throughout the year. And those are beautiful. We love those as well. I don't know if that's gonna just kind of mesh in here. So maybe shoot some ideas below. You can help me out. Give me some tips on the roses that'll look really good. And what do you think for this area here? You notice that it's not as skinny, it kind of goes back a little bit. Should I do two layers of roses or just one rose bush in the middle of it? So should there just be rose bushes, going along just around, along this area here in the front, or should we also put a couple of rose bushes back further? Yeah, I really welcome your comments and help and guidance with this if you've got experience doing that sort of thing. Another thing that's interesting, has nothing to do with the roses themselves, has to do with these rocks here. We used to have, when we first moved in, had just these very square brick type, dividers, I don't even know what you call them, edge stuff for the thing. And it looked really just funky because it was this really square thing. What I did was I took this rock, we have tons of, this is all out of our yard. There's a rock quarry at the end of our cul-de-sac, and so we have tons and tons of this natural rock. And so what I did was I came and I just took and created this path and this, I don't know why the word's escaping me right now on what this is called, but yeah, essentially use that rock to be able to do a border for this, and that's I think a big improvement. Maybe it looks a little too linear. I might change it up a little bit, but I like that better than the red brick that was just really angular and came out and jutted across, very too square. Here I've got my hops and my 2 passion fruit that I need to take back into the orchard and plant. Haven't done that yet. That's a little bit more of a time commitment than coming out and pruning these roses, but these will be out of the way. I'm going to be planting roses in this spot with your help. Well, thanks for tuning into this episode of The Busy Gardener. Maybe this has given you some ideas on how roses can look in front of your house. Maybe it's gotten your mind thinking about pruning them better than maybe you have before. If you got ideas, I really welcome those ideas down below. If you're not yet a subscriber, love for you to do that. If that's not your thing, that's okay too. Whether you've got 1 tree or a rose bush in your orchard or 500, until next time, stay busy. It's pretty. It is going to look nice inside.